First, he came on the show and he just loved that Milwaukee won, and he almost mocked me. It was very painful. But then I haven't talked to him since then, and Milwaukee went down the Tuberowski, and so both of us are in great pain, and Joy is the only happy person in the area code. Nick Wright, via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network, calls First Things First. You know what? This is why the playoffs are great. It's why you and I love the NBA. It's all sorts of twists and turns. Speaking of that, Magic Johnson yesterday gets hammered by ESPN. The article, mean-spirited, vengeful. He's a terrible guy. And my takeaway is, so he hid all that for 30 years. So for 30 years, he was an awful guy, and now it just comes out. I'm not saying it was perfect, but I defended him, and I said, when you go into a bad company, you got to break some eggs. What was your takeaway on all the story in his defense of his reputation?
All right, so obviously there are some major systemic issues with the Los Angeles Lakers. Rob Pelinka seems to have an honesty issue. Magic Johnson maybe had an attendance issue. Jeannie Buss has a Ramby issue. So, things are not all good in La La Land. We know that. But I think it is very clear where this story and a lot of these stories have been coming from. Who was the one person and the one group of people that totally skated from any and all criticism in this very long piece? Luke Walton and his coaching staff. So who do we think were a lot of the former Laker employees eviscerating the Los Angeles Lakers? Maybe fired bitter coaches? Who knows? And then the other aspect, who else? Other executives and agents. Agents around the league, we know, didn't always like Rob Pelinka, and they hate and fear Rich Paul. They don't like Rich because they think he skipped the line. He didn't have to do the grunt work that a lot of them feel they did. And league executives have a dislike towards Rich because he and LeBron ushered in the era of player empowerment, which took the power away from the guys that look like them in the suites with the suits to the guys that look like Rich and LeBron who are actually playing in the games. And then the third group is the people who have just been waiting for the Lakers to be vulnerable for 50 years. It looked like the Lakers, wait, in the 90s, maybe they're going to fall apart. Oh, Shaquille O'Neal demands to go there. Oh, wait, Kobe Bryant's era is going to fall flat. Oh, here, have Pau Gasol. So there's been a moment where the entire league, I feel like, that had some jealousy and some built-up bitterness towards the Lakers' exceptionalism is now feasting at the bone. And it is all now left on either Linda Rambis to fix it or the gravitational pull of LeBron James to fix it by bringing a Kyrie Irving or someone of his caliber over to stop the bleeding.
Speaking of that, I think there's a massive story today, Nick. Anthony Davis having lunch with David Griffin. My sources have always said with Anthony Davis, he's not confrontational. He's not the alpha. He's talented, but he's not put a franchise on my back and I'm gonna. He doesn't have that Kobe, that Michael Jordan, that LeBron thing. Today's a breakup lunch potentially. And if he goes there and sticks to his guns and says, listen, I want to play in L.A. or New York, he is going to fundamentally change multiple franchises in this league. Do you think he has the guts to do that? Because I know you like David Griffin, but I think deep down Anthony Davis doesn't want to be there long term, Nick.
Listen, I think there is the only way the Pelicans could sell Anthony Davis on staying is by keeping him into the season, having him play with Zion, and rolling the dice that he will fall in love with playing with Zion. But David Griffin is too smart for that because the moment you let Anthony Davis play in another game is the moment you put the entire Zion Williamson era at risk, at least the beginning of it, because you risk that Anthony Davis gets hurt and his trade value goes to zero. Because if he gets hurt, it doesn't have to be a season-ending injury. It has to be an injury that knocks him out to the trade deadline. His trade value then, of course, becomes zero. David Griffin saw the Pelicans butcher the Anthony Davis era by trying to microwave it. He will not do that to Zion Williamson. And don't you think in New Orleans They want a clean start to the Zion era, not have the specter of Anthony Davis hanging over him. So unless they can leave this lunch with Anthony Davis saying, you know what, I'm sold, give me the contract, which he won't, they're going to trade Anthony Davis this summer. David Griffin's too smart to do anything else.
That's exciting because I think it's a linchpin for some amazing things happening in the NBA. I'm going to get to the Rockets in a second because I would not interview you without bringing that up. But I'm going to throw one more thing at you with KD. It's very interesting. LeBron is the greatest total athlete in league history. And even LeBron 2 years ago sort of opted to play defense as a hobby, not an occupation. And I totally give him a pass on that. Kevin Durant now has another injury. And so he's limping to the end of this season. Do you think there's a chance he's thinking, okay, I was playing 26 minutes a night at the end of the season. I only averaged about 33 during the season. I can coast in spots with Steph and Clay. Or I'm going to go to New York, hobbling or Brooklyn. They're going to need 40 minutes. I don't get a coast because I have Kevin Knox. You know, I'm looking at this injury and I'm thinking, if I'm Kevin Durant, Nick, there's an old saying, work harder, not smarter. I don't know if I'd want to hobble into New York and carry a franchise playing 42 minutes because this injury looks worse than any of us initially suspected. What say you?
Yeah, I think that might be what you would do. And I think a lot of people would say, wait, this amazing team in the Bay Area that's about to walk into a brand new arena can pay me the most money and can give me the best chance to win. Why would I leave? So why would Kevin Durant leave? Because this mountain has been climbed, and it's turning out wasn't really a mountain. They're minus 280 favorites to win the whole damn thing, and he might not play another minute. They haven't lost a game since he went down with this calf injury. If Kevin Durant, as I think most all-time great athletes do, want to see how great they can actually be. And while, yeah, LeBron in year 15, when he really had 18 years of tread on the tires and 7 and then 8 straight trips to the finals, started moderating his usage, KD's not to that point yet. He's supposed to be playing 38-ish minutes a night, carrying a team, and seeing if he can climb the final mountain. And if he was going to stay in Golden State, we'd know it. He's not allowed to say yet, I'm leaving. He's been allowed to say all year, I'm staying, and he won't because he's not. You, for some inexplicable reason, want him to, even though the league is exponentially more interesting if he leaves. Just why? I just think maybe deep down you're worried he's such an odd guy with the media that if everyone's like, you've got to leave, he's going to stay. So you're doing some Princess Bride, I know what you know, what I know, what you know, duplicitous thing here. But everyone wants him to leave. I think deep down you've got to want him to leave. Let him go. Spread your wings in New York City, Kevin Durant. Bring somebody with you and go try to win a title.
Yeah, listen, I was rooting for Zion. I try not to root on the air, but I said I was rooting for Zion to go to New York because I think New York's an incredible basketball city, and whatever I root for never happens. So, I'm from Seattle. We don't win much there. Finally, Houston Rockets. One of the reasons I love Daryl Morey, and this is why I love Howie Roseman, who runs the Philadelphia Eagles, and I love Les Snead, who runs the Rams, they're deal makers. They're deal makers. They like to sit at the poker table, and they'll bluff, and basically my guy, I love him, Daryl Morey says, today through Woj, I'll move everybody. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's and I know Woj couched it a bit, I would be shell-shocked if he were to trade James Harden. I think it's really everyone but Harden. But the problem is not many tradable assets. He is a poker player, but he also went all in on this year and next year via that Chris Paul contract. It was, keep in mind, the only way Chris Paul consents to the trade with the Rockets is knowing he's going to get this contract. So you wouldn't have gotten the year before this unless you had agreed to give him the extension. There's kind of a wink and a nod situation there. And they are obsessed with the Warriors, and the Warriors slayed them, and now they have no flexibility. They're capped out. They have their own draft picks, but those aren't great draft picks because the team's consistently good. I believe for a major franchise-changing move, the only real hope they have is to trick the Lakers into taking Chris Paul. And with the way the Lakers are run, they might be able to trick the Lakers into taking Chris Paul. But 3 years, $120 million left on a guy who, at this point, you can't rely on more than one 20-point game a month from.
Yeah. That's
going to be a tough sell, but I don't know. Maybe you can call up Linda Rambis and convince her, and she's running the operations there, so we'll see.
The new and improved Nick Wright, I don't know who is doing your hair, but you look spectacular. Look at this.
Speaking of hair, if I may, Joy Taylor, your hair looks fantastic today, as always. Just one quick correction, if I may. During Herdline News, you said that Doc Rivers compared Kawhi to the GOAT, but then you talked about Michael Jordan, not LeBron. I hate to point out a fact error there, but try to be better in that regard.
All right, Nick. I should have seen that coming.
Yes.
By the way, Danielle, his wife, is responsible for his hair and attire.
Listen, if he wasn't married to his beautiful wife, he would look like 6 miles of unpaved road. Instead, look at him.
Oh, yeah. And instead of talking to you right now, I'd be gambling in Atlantic City, living probably my worst or best life. The road not traveled, we'll never know.
Nick Wright, good seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.